Good morning. This is Raymond Castleberry again, the DON here at Goel Health. I'm going to be going over our employee work restrictions in regards to infectious diseases. This process, this policy is going to kind of go over when you're not feeling well or if you have any kind of infectious disease, the time that you should report it to and be off of work. Obviously, if you are infectious, you don't want to bring that in. Um, for the safety of our patients and for the safety of others. And so we'll go over that process now. So the policy is our policy to take appropriate precautions um, uh, to prevent transmission of infectious agents. Employees with a communicable disease or infected skin lesion will be prohibited from working if direct contact with residents or their food will likely transmit the disease. Okay, so I will share the policy and I'll share the screen here. Here we go. So we can kind of go over this. The policy applies to regular employees and contract employees who have direct contact with residents or their food. It is the responsibility of the employee to report the presence of any communicable or infectious disease of importance in healthcare settings to his or her supervisor. So it is the responsibility of the employee to report if you have a disease process, infectious disease, to us. Okay, either myself or the administrator, Elliot. A list of relevant infectious diseases attached to the end of this policy. We won't go line for line. We'll kind of quickly go over it, but it is attached to the policy that you guys will have so you have reference. Okay. Um, Employees with will not be penalized for reporting infectious diseases and adhering to infection control recommendations. However, this does not exempt employees from other policies regarding absenteeism. Okay, all employee records regarding communicable or infectious disease will remain confidential. That's all regards to HIPAA. So once you share it with us, we are not going to share it with everyone else. Okay, it's between us. It's just for documentation purposes, and then you'll be removed from the schedule if it's required. If the employee presents to work, if it is responsibility of the employee's supervisor or the supervisor on duty to make determinations regarding work restrictions depending on circumstances, that would be myself. The designated infection prevention may be consulted to provide guidance and decision making. In the absence of state and local regulations, CDC guidelines will be utilized in determining work restrictions. A summary of the suggested work restrictions is also attached to the end of this policy in regards to specific diseases. Okay. Employees who are restricted from work shall remain away from work until no longer contagious or cleared by a medical provider as needed. So, if you are taken off by a primary care doctor or an ER doctor, you'll need a physician's note to be reinstated into work. Okay. So kind of scrolling down, these are some of the items that are disease processes rather that are very common that we can share a part of the policy with, conjunctivitis or pink eye until the discharges ceases. So you don't want to come in once the antibiotics have been started. You can go ahead and continue back to work within 24 hours. Diarrhea, we can kind of go through here. Hepatitis A, B, C. There's only restrictions until 7 days of onset with hepatitis A and measles and mumps, any kind of uh, pertussis active. Obviously, if you are coughing and are running temps, you do not want to be sharing that with your fellow employees. They will all appreciate that. I will also personally appreciate if you're not feeling well, please take the day off. Get better so that way we're not spreading the wealth in this facility, okay? It's already hard enough, especially with little kids, to get different little bugs brought home from school. Tuberculosis, there's obviously some exclusions that we can go over on a personal level. But like having shingles and things in that nature, for example, if you have the pustules open and they're exposed, you don't want to be rubbing against equipment or patients or staff and spreading that as well. So any of those items, we'll make sure. You want to make sure that you follow the regulations that we have in our policy. And if you're not sure, you go ahead and contact myself so that we can kind of go over those together so that way we can make appropriate accommodations. We will have a policy review test that we can go over. And since I have the answer key, I know all the answers. Whose responsibility is it to report the presence of any communicable or infectious disease of importance to an employer? It is the infected or contagious employee's responsibility to notify the employer. Okay. Employees that will not be penalized or for reporting infectious diseases and adhering to infection control recommendation. That's true. We are not going to hold it against you. Actually, we prefer that if you're not feeling good and you have an infectious disease, that you not come to work causing any kind of other issues. The state is very, very stringent about making sure that we're not a source of infection to the community or to our staff, and so we want to make sure that we adhere to those higher standards as well. Depending on the type of infection or communicable disease, employee work restrictions may include. I want to say it is D. It's all of the above. Restriction from taking care of high-risk residents, restriction from handling food, exclusion from duty. So just depending on the disease process, once again. Health records regarding employees' type of communicable or infectious disease will be posted in the facility to alert others of the employee's health status. That's false. We will not be sharing your personal health information with anyone that does not need to know, okay? Which of the following situations would prohibit an employee from having direct contact with residents' environment, or their food? It's not seasonal allergies. It's not an allergic reaction to a medication. Staphylococcus aureus infection with active draining skin lesions would be the answer. It would be C. All right. Well, this ends our portion of the training in regards to infectious disease in regards to an employee. All right. Well, we'll see you guys soon.